couple hours ago, I got back from seeing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and I just thought, let me give you some generalized reactions to what I saw. Because I saw a film. That's it. I saw a film. It was titled Indiana Jones, so I expected to have an Indiana Jones style adventure. But in the end, generally, I thought this was a long and frankly dull movie. Um, you've probably understand the general concept. It involves the Dial of Destiny, which is a device which was created by Archimedes that will allow people to travel through time. The movie actually opens up not focusing on that. It's actually focusing on the Lance of Longinus, which is a spear that pierced Christ's side when he was being crucified. So that's the MacGuffin that Indiana Jones is looking for, and we get to see him do that in 1944. And I think this is the part of the movie that actually feels like Indiana Jones for me. We do get a de-aged Harrison Ford, which is okay. There are times it's not. The most distracting part of it for me was hearing the voice because he's de-aged to look like he's around, 40 to 45 years old, which is what he would be, Indiana Jones would be at that time in World War II. But when you see de-aged, middle-aged Indiana Harrison Ford as opposed to elderly Harrison Ford, you're hearing elderly Harrison Ford voice. There's a difference in the way a middle-aged person talks compared to the way an elderly person talks, with the tone and timbre of their voice, and it's noticeable. So you hear an old man's voice coming out of a younger man's head. It's weird. Uh, but generally, I actually like this. This is the first 20 minutes of the movie, and I kind of liked it because it had an Indiana Jones feel. You had Indy chasing after a artifact, fighting Nazis. Okay, that's classic Indiana Jones stuff. Um, the Dial of Destiny. Well, first off, it turns out the lance is fake, so it has nothing to do with it. But that's when the Dial of Destiny comes in. It's the Antikytherium device, the Archimedes dial. It is in possession of a Nazi named Voller that is played by Mads Mikkelsen, and he has one part of it. There's another part that's missing. He wants to put the two of them together. So Indy gets captured by the Nazis, and his partner at the time, played by Toby Jones, Basil Shaw, also gets captured. And Basil also knows about the Dial of Destiny and what it can do, or what it's alleged to do. So they're able to, by hook or crook, get a hold of the device and take off with it. And there's a chase involved on the train, jumping over cars, train car. It's a good sequence. It's not a bad sequence. It is dark. It is pretty dark. And I mean that by lighting. I don't know why they couldn't at least had a moon out to give some moonlight, but it's could have been lit better. Like I say, it's a fun, more classic Indiana Jones theme and feel to it. But then after that, then I think that's when the movie really diverts from feeling like Indiana Jones, because now we're 25 years in the future and we see old broke down Indiana Jones. So he's about 7 years old right now. He's living in New York City, teaching in a different college than what he taught before. I always thought that where he was teaching, I think it was in New Jersey. I think it was supposed to be like Princeton. It wasn't called Princeton, but it was supposed to be like Princeton. So now he's teaching at some school in New York, perhaps the equivalent of Columbia. And he's getting ready to retire, but he's teaching archaeology to a bunch of kids who really just, care more about, the parade for the Apollo 11 astronauts. Um, and in the classroom is a very smart young woman who seems to know the answers to everything. And that woman turns out to be Helena Shaw, his goddaughter, the daughter of his friend Basil Shaw, Toby Jones. Helena is, of course, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and you've probably heard a lot about the character. I know I've jokingly referred to in some instances as this movie being called Indiana Jones and the Intersectional Feminism, and I fully expect it to be clubbed over the head. I was sort of surprised in the fact I did not feel like I was beaten over the head with certain messaging. It doesn't mean that certain things weren't very obvious at how great this character was. Helena knows everything about everything. She's 6 steps ahead of everyone in planning and conniving and scheming, because she's actually quite the schemer. You see, she's kind of a little bit of a criminal. Uh, she's a treasure hunter that sells relics for money. So maybe she's got a little Laura Croft in her. Definitely not as cool as Laura Croft, but she'd get. Oh wow, she could probably kick Laura Croft's ass the way that she's portrayed in this movie. Yeah, she's able to fight pretty well. She's apparently the object of affection of many gentlemen throughout the world, and she can always give a good quip to put Indy down, remind him that he's an older guy right now. So she convinces him to try to find the dial, which actually he has, and she takes it from him and takes off running. Well, it turns out she's being pursued by what appears to be the CIA, and the CIA is employing the guy Voller, the Nazi who had part of the device on the train in 1944. But Voller now is going by Schmidt, and he helped put the astronauts on the moon. So this is a takeoff of Werner von Braun, the former Nazi scientist who was recruited by the United States to help with the rocket program through Operation Paperclip. Real life analogy to the character here. Not Werner von Braun, but rather Voller wants to get the device and put it together because what he wants to do is go back in time because that's what he thinks the device is going to do. He wants to go back in time and kill Hitler, which generally I think most people would agree, but he wants to do it because he thinks Hitler screwed up the whole Nazi domination. So I guess the plan is he goes back in time, kills Hitler, and then he takes over Nazi Germany. I'm guessing because then they won't lose the war. Regardless of what the actual plot is of this, Indy gets framed for murder. Helena takes off with the device, and now Indiana Jones has to get the device and track down Helena to get cleared of murder. That appears to be the plot. That's why he's going after the device. And it's all right, so the first 20 minutes and the other 2 hours and 10 minutes of sort of long, drawn-out chase scenes, filler upon filler, to get to the end where ultimately, in the end, Indiana Jones, after traveling back in time, not to pre-World War II Nazi Germany, but to the siege of Syracuse 2,000 years ago with Archimedes, decides, I'm old and busted up, and I'm just going to stay here back in time because Marion left me. She's getting divorced. Mutt's dead. I'm crotchety, and I just want to die. And Helena suddenly, despite having all these dollar signs in her eyes, just on the device, decides, no, I can't let Indy do this. So she flat out knocks him out, like solid punch, takes him out one punch because that's realistic. There are a few guffaws in the theater where I was at, and I think it was more the absurdity of it all. So yeah, that's it. Of course, and he ends up back home. Marion and him reconcile, and that's the end of Indiana Jones. This is the farewell to Indiana Jones, final adventure, and like I said, it lacked the spirit. It really did. I didn't feel, what Lucas and Spielberg made to begin with. That based on the pulp series from the 1930s and 1940s, the little bit of absurdity with fun action excitement. Indiana Jones just didn't feel like Indiana Jones. It felt like Harrison Ford playing Harrison Ford. Indiana Jones was never a superhero in the sense of he gets everything done right. Indiana Jones was just, an intelligent man, clever, who got by on wits and luck. And a lot of times he had a lot of bad luck, but somehow it always worked out for him. In this instance, you can tell he's the old guy. And I don't like seeing the old guy. I don't like seeing my childhood hero be made the old guy, struggling, trying just to do something. It detracts from the character and leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And in that sense, I think it's worse than Crystal Skull because I think it degrades the character further. Helena, of course, like I said, she's Mary Sue, can't do any wrong. Yeah, it's kind of sad. We all expected this not to be a great movie. I know there's some people out there that have enjoyed it, but there's A lot of people out there saying this is not what it should have been. We all know what happened when it premiered at Cannes. A lot of negative reviews. The numbers are not looking good. Already we know it made about $25 million on the first Friday. It's maybe going to make 60 million this weekend, not including the holiday itself. So it's another loss in Disney's column. Disney continues its losing streak, having good franchises with a solid fan base that they just cannot build on, cannot create excitement for, because, in my opinion, they're more concerned about messaging than good story. But, if you want to go see it, you certainly can. I would say go to a matinee. Do not spend a ton of money doing it. Maybe go out for a nice lunch like I did beforehand. So at least you can look back and say, oh, I had a nice lunch, had a nice view of the bay. That was a good takeaway. Anyway, until next time, questions, comments, witticisms down below. Click the like button, click the subscribe button, and I will see you later.